A lot of people trying to get me to do music, but I was one of them kids growing up, they listen to the music and hear, like, Lil Boosie had, like, I always bring a Boosie because, you know, Boosie was my role model. Boosie had these songs talk about what he rapped about, and you could hear it in Boosie, and it made me want to do that.
This whole situation, it didn't just stay in the music lane. It jumped straight into real-life consequences. And what Lil Woody recently revealed about Boosie has the entire hip-hop space on edge. What started as rap talk is now turning into something way more serious. Lil Woody is now publicly calling out Boosie. Yes, the same Boosie he grew up listening to, and that's where it gets wild. Woody used to ride around blasting Boosie's tracks like they were the soundtrack to his life.
A lot of people trying to get me to do music, but I was one of them kids growing up, they listen to the music and hear, like, Lil Boosie had, like, I always bring a Boosie because, you know, Boosie was my role model. Boosie had these songs talk about what he rapped about, and you could hear it in Boosie, and it made me want to do that. So when I used to go out, Lil Boosie saying the song, I want to try it.
Yeah, you said Mine and the Maniac made you want to slide.
Nah, I was sliding. There's a difference. Yeah, these niggas want to do stuff, I'm doing it. I pull up at the club one weekend, back to back, Friday and Saturday, aired everybody out. The police weren't locking me up. Everybody said I did, the police weren't locking me up. They were really going to my head, psyching me out. Then I was just getting careless about what I did.
Now, he's speaking on him in a way nobody expected. People are criticizing Woody heavy, calling him a snitch and saying he folded under pressure. Meanwhile, Boosie reportedly made it clear Woody isn't welcome in Baton Rouge anymore, even saying he wouldn't last a day out there. But here's the twist. Woody isn't backing down at all. In fact, he's been saying he's ready to see Boosie face to face. That's how heated this has gotten. Lil Woody, whose real name is Kenneth Copeland, was that young guy from Atlanta who came up during the era when Boosie's music was everywhere. And this wasn't just casual fan behavior. Woody has openly admitted he was influenced by that Baton Rouge energy. The gritty lyrics, the raw delivery, that was the vibe he connected to. According to court documents, during the time he was allegedly involved in serious street activity connected to Young Thug's YSL circle, Boosie's music was playing in the background.
Thug, I love you. Nothing gonna stop me from loving you, but what you do from this moment forward. You knew not to come on this internet. You knew not to let a nigga like Pee Wee Roscoe get on the internet and do what he did. You let Pee Wee do that. You let Pee Wee do that. And Pee Wee got you in all this stuff. Pee Wee got on the internet calling people rats. Pee Wee got on the internet saying all he said. Now guess what? He made people mad. People when they dig up the videos. Now people don't dig up the videos. You are what you are, buddy. You are official on the Woody and Charleston White team. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm okay with being a snitch. Because I know what I did. I know what I've been through.
That same soundtrack that once hyped him up is now tied to one of the biggest controversies in recent rap history. To really understand how things spiraled like this, we have to rewind a bit. Before Woody became a key witness in court, he was allegedly one of the main enforcers connected to YSL. This isn't just two rappers going back and forth online. This is about the clash between old school street loyalty and the modern reality of federal investigations. And that clash is shaking the culture. Back in 2022, federal authorities unveiled a massive RICO indictment against Young Thug and multiple alleged YSL associates. The case stretched across 88 pages and named 28 defendants. Prosecutors claimed the label operated as more than just a music company. They alleged it functioned as a long-running criminal enterprise tied to serious offenses over more than a decade. Young Thug was suddenly facing charges that could have kept him locked up for life if convicted. The case leaned heavily on social media posts, lyrics, phone records, surveillance footage, and, most importantly, witness testimony. And that's where Lil Woody stepped into the spotlight. Authorities described him as someone deeply embedded in the crew. Prosecutors alleged he was involved in major incidents, including the 2015 shooting that ended the life of an associate connected to YFN Lucci's circle. They claimed that event was part of an ongoing conflict between rival groups. These are allegations presented in court, not proven facts, but they formed the backbone of the case. When Woody was arrested, he was facing multiple serious charges himself, including racketeering and conspiracy. The evidence reportedly stacked up against him included phone data and surveillance material. Prosecutors offered him a deal: cooperate and testify, or risk spending the rest of his life behind bars. Woody chose to cooperate. For days in court, he testified about alleged inner workings of YSL. He described how money allegedly moved, how decisions were made, and how certain operations supposedly went down. His statements became central to the prosecution's argument. His testimony kept Young Thug behind bars for over 2 years while the case unfolded. The hip-hop world watched in shock as one of its biggest stars faced the possibility of decades in prison. The reaction online was brutal. Many people labeled Woody a rat. Others said he did what anyone would do when facing life behind bars. Some artists publicly criticized him, saying street codes don't bend under pressure. But here's the complicated part. Woody came up idolizing artists who rapped about loyalty, silence, and standing tall no matter what. Artists like Boosie built careers on that message. And now Woody is being judged by the very code he thought he was living by. The culture that influenced him is now turning its back on him. That's the tension at the center of this entire situation. This isn't just about one man cooperating in court. It's about how rap lyrics, street image, and real-world consequences collide when federal charges enter the picture. When Boosie first caught wind of Woody cooperating, he didn't stay quiet at all. This is the same Boosie who built his whole image on that never fold mentality. The man has always spoken about standing tall and never giving statements to authorities, no matter the pressure. He's faced serious charges in his own past and beat cases without taking deals, so in his mind, that gave him the standing to speak on it. He jumped on multiple platforms calling Woody out, saying real street figures don't cooperate under any circumstance. From his point of view, Woody crossed a line you can't uncross.
I watched Boosie say that, oh, I went making it Beirut or Louisiana, wherever he from.
Yeah, Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I'm just like, where they come from? You feel me? Like, why are you speaking on me? You see what I'm saying? It's like, but if I speak on you, you ain't like it. I don't know what's going on in your camp because I don't pay attention to it, but from what I'm seeing on the internet, this kid got locked up for these charges and you abandon this kid. Don't say nothing about me because y'all niggas want to be something that y'all can never be. You wasn't the one putting in the work. That kid was. What Charles White say? If a nigga push him too hard, he gonna have a diabetes attack. Diabetic, whatever, however you pronounce it. When you get on these Vlad interviews and niggas know Vlad get on that payroll. You feel me? Like, I've been to the feds. I don't see gangsters get burned in the feds.
What made it hit harder for Boosie was that Woody had grown up listening to him, repeating his lyrics, claiming he lived by that same code. So when Woody took the stand, Boosie saw it as a direct contradiction of everything he preached. Boosie has said before, you don't say nothing to the police. That's been his public stance for years. So watching someone who once called him an idol step into the courtroom and speak openly, to him, that felt like betrayal. But his frustration wasn't just about cooperation. It was deeper than that. He seemed especially bothered by the idea that someone influenced by his music would now break the principles those songs represented. From his perspective, it was like watching a student flip the script completely. The irony, though, didn't go unnoticed. Here's an artist whose music allegedly motivated Woody during his most reckless chapter, now criticizing him for how that chapter ended. That's a complicated dynamic nobody really wants to unpack. But Woody wasn't about to sit back and take those shots quietly. Not from someone he once looked up to. And when he responded, he didn't just defend himself. He went straight at Boosie's credibility. Woody started laying out claims about an incident where Boosie was reportedly pulled over and firearms were found in the vehicle. According to Woody's version of events, Boosie allegedly tried to distance himself from the situation by pointing toward a security guard who had a prior record and couldn't legally carry weapons. Woody broke it down calmly, saying when officers approached, Boosie supposedly indicated the guard was connected to the firearms. Woody questioned why someone with status would hire security with a record involving weapons restrictions in the first place. He also claimed that when the guard didn't immediately accept responsibility, tensions rose on the scene. These are Woody's allegations, not confirmed findings, but he presented them like he had seen paperwork himself. Then he took it further. Woody argued that speaking in a way that shifts blame or gives authorities extra details is still cooperation. In his words, telling is saying anything to the police that can involve someone else's freedom. He basically flipped Boosie's own philosophy back on him. He suggested that when pressure hit, even the loudest voices about silence might react differently. One of the heavier claims Woody made involved alleged comments about transporting firearms across state lines. According to Woody, Boosie supposedly explained to officers how weapons traveled between cities. If that version of events is accurate, it would go far beyond just identifying ownership. But again, this is Woody's account of what happened, not a court-confirmed conclusion. Woody framed it like this. When authorities asked, "Whose gun is this?" the response wasn't silence, it was explanation. And in street culture, explanation can be viewed the same as cooperation. That's the angle he pushed. What made Woody's words sting more was the personal layer. He admitted Boosie was once his idol. He said he looked up to him, wanted the lifestyle, wanted the respect. So this wasn't random internet drama. This was someone who once admired you, now accusing you of hypocrisy. Woody wasn't just some random critic throwing shade. He used to be a real fan of Boosie. He said himself that he looked up to him, studied his moves, and soaked up the message in his music. So when he started speaking about what he believes is hypocrisy, you could hear that frustration. To him, this wasn't gossip. It felt personal. He basically flipped the narrative and said, how can someone build an entire image around never cooperating, but then allegedly switch up when their own freedom is on the line? Woody framed it like this: there's a difference between reputation and reality. In his words, Boosie has a reputation for standing tall, and Woody has a reputation for cooperating. But Woody questioned whether that reputation tells the full story. When asked what he would do in a similar situation, Woody leaned heavy into the street code angle. He said if someone tossed a bag with a weapon into his car, he wouldn't be calmly explaining anything to authorities. He claimed he'd be confronting that person immediately. He even described a scenario where things would turn physical before law enforcement even had a chance to sort it out. That was his way of saying he understands the rules better than people think. Then he dropped what he clearly sees as his strongest point. Woody said there was a time when authorities found a weapon in a car he was riding in, and he didn't point fingers. According to him, he told officers to let his friend go and accepted the charge himself. He claims he went to jail over it and didn't put it on anyone else. For Woody, that moment proves he has lived by the code at least once. And in his mind, that stands in direct contrast to what he alleges Boosie did. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't emotional. That's what made it land harder. He spoke calmly, laid out his version step by step, and let the audience draw conclusions. Whether people believe him or not, he delivered it with confidence. Boosie, on the other hand, made it clear he doesn't want Woody anywhere near Baton Rouge. He reportedly said Woody wouldn't last long in the city, and it wasn't framed as just personal tension. It was described as street politics. The suggestion was that Woody's reputation as someone who cooperated in a high-profile case would automatically make him a target in certain environments. Boosie reportedly went further, saying that if something did happen, people wouldn't even question it. In his view, Woody's name already carries too much controversy. That kind of talk raised eyebrows because it highlights how serious reputation can be in certain cities. In places like Baton Rouge, image and loyalty aren't just words. They can shape how people move. But here's where it gets even more tense. Woody isn't staying quiet or disappearing. Instead of ducking the situation, he's reportedly been asking about Boosie's whereabouts. Not necessarily to escalate anything physically, at least there's no proof of that, but to confront the situation head on. The irony is heavy. The same guy who once blasted Boosie's music for motivation is now publicly challenging him. What's wild is how Woody has transformed in the public eye. He went from being described by prosecutors as deeply involved in YSL's alleged operations to someone who now sits in interviews calmly breaking down street philosophy. He doesn't come off reckless. He comes off calculated. He presents his arguments with details, examples, and confidence. And whether people agree with him or not, he's not intimidated by reputations anymore. That's what makes this clash so intense. It's not just about cooperation, it's about pride, image, influence, and who really lives by the rules they promote. And right now, both sides are accusing the other of not practicing what they preach. That right there wasn't just a jab at Boosie, it was a swing at the whole culture of selective outrage around cooperation. Woody has basically positioned himself as the guy who's willing to call out what he sees as double standards, no matter who's involved. And the fact that he's not ducking the warnings, not going quiet, and not shrinking back, that shows a level of boldness that's both impressive and risky. In a world where backing down can damage your name overnight, Woody doubled down instead of softening his stance. And this clash exposed something deeper about the so-called street code both men claim to live by. When real pressure hits, when decades behind bars are a real possibility, that code gets tested in ways most people will never understand. Woody's cooperation in the YSL case is public record. He gave detailed testimony that prosecutors used in court. That's not speculation. That's documented. At the same time, Woody's claims about Boosie suggest that cooperation isn't always black and white. According to Woody, when Boosie faced his own legal situation involving firearms, he allegedly shifted responsibility and provided explanations that could impact others. These are allegations from Woody's side, not court conclusions, but they raise a bigger question. Is there really a difference between cooperating to avoid a life sentence and speaking up to avoid a separate charge? Both situations involve saying something to authorities that could affect someone else's freedom. That's the uncomfortable debate this whole situation forced into the open. The truth is, when someone is staring down serious prison time, survival instincts kick in. The street code sounds solid in lyrics and interviews, but when federal prosecutors are stacking charges, reality feels different. That's not defending anyone. That's just acknowledging how pressure changes decisions. Another interesting angle is how both men are playing the media game. Woody has been strategic, sitting down for interviews, explaining his side in detail, and turning his notoriety into opportunity. He's openly said he flipped his situation into a new lane for himself. That's controversial, but it's calculated. Boosie, on the other hand, has leaned on his long-standing reputation and influence. When he says someone isn't welcome in Baton Rouge, that carries weight. That's not just social media talk. In certain cities, reputation travels fast, and when a respected figure signals disapproval, people listen. Right now, this situation feels like it's sitting at a crossroads. Boosie has reportedly made it clear Woody isn't welcome in his city. Woody, instead of laying low, has hinted he's willing to confront the issue directly. That tension alone makes this unpredictable. For Woody, backing down now would look like confirming everything critics say about him. For Boosie, easing up could be seen as weakening his stance. Both have too much pride invested at this point. Neither wants to look like they folded. What makes this whole thing even more ironic is the history. Woody once idolized Boosie. He played his music, believed in the message, and tried to live by that image. Now he's publicly challenging the same man he once admired. The student is calling out the teacher, and both are accusing the other of breaking the very rules they claim to defend. At the end of the day, this isn't just about two individuals. It's about image versus reality. It's about what happens when lyrics meet legal consequences. And it's about how quickly admiration can turn into confrontation when reputations are on the line. And here's where it gets heavy. When both of them were finally staring at real consequences, that unbreakable code suddenly didn't look so unbreakable anymore. Now they're locked in a feud that feels like it could spiral into real-world harm if nobody slows it down. So the question everybody keeps asking is simple. Who's really the bigger hypocrite? Woody is out here saying he's ready to confront Boosie face to face. He's not hiding, not ducking interviews, not stepping away from the smoke. Meanwhile, Boosie has made it clear that Baton Rouge is not a safe place for Woody. When someone with influence says you're not welcome in a whole city, that's not just tough talk, that's pressure. But here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. This whole situation might have been avoided if both sides admitted something basic. The street code sounds solid until life-changing consequences show up. When decades behind bars are on the table, decisions get real complicated. Pride, image, reputation, all of that gets tested in ways most people will never experience. Instead of acknowledging that reality, both men are standing 10 toes down on reputations built around a code they each allegedly bent when it counted most. And now it's ego versus ego, idol versus former fan, teacher versus student. It's layered, it's personal, and it's emotional. What makes it even sadder is that this didn't have to turn into this kind of standoff. Two voices in the culture could have had a real conversation about pressure, growth, and mistakes. Instead, it turned into public call-outs, threats, and challenges. Now the energy feels explosive. And let's be clear, nobody wins if this crosses the line into actual harm. The only people who benefit from chaos are the ones watching from the sidelines profiting off the drama. Meanwhile, the culture loses more credibility every time situations like this escalate. At some point, the hip-hop community has to ask itself, is this really the direction we want to keep going? When former supporters and their idols are ready to risk everything over who broke a code first, something deeper is off. Maybe the bigger issue isn't who cooperated more. Maybe it's why reputations are valued more than safety and growth in the first place. Because if nobody learns from this, we're going to keep seeing the same cycle repeat. Public pressure, legal trouble, accusations, pride, escalation, and eventually consequences nobody can rewind. Right now, this situation is still unfolding. Words are flying, interviews are dropping, and neither side looks ready to back down. The tension is real, but hopefully it stays at the level of talk and doesn't move past that. Nobody needs another headline that ends in tragedy. Let me know what you think. Who do you believe is moving wrong here? And do you think this could have been handled differently? If you want more breakdowns on situations like this, make sure you like this video, share it with someone who's been following the story, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And tap into the next video popping up on your screen right now. We've got more celebrity drama and real talk waiting for you over there. I'll catch you on the next one.